Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Chat with the S-Men. Today we have Ryan DeWald as a guest on this episode. But before we get to that, we always have to name off our sponsors. So thank you, Tenacra. Tenacra is a Calgary headquartered tech company specializing in custom software development and M365 solutions. Also, Bellcat. Bellcat is a strategy-driven marketing agency marrying traditional marketing channels with technology. And I'll pass it off to you, Simon.
And then obviously special thanks there to Pink Weasel for keeping us all caffeined up and coffeeed away. Spandex Panda for keeping us looking cool. Ryan's got one of his garments on at the minute. And then obviously TEEMA Solutions helping clients across North America with all their IT initiatives and whatever they've got going on as well, either services or staff augmentation solutions.
Fantastic. And don't forget, you can listen to us or watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Podbean. And don't forget to follow us on social media, like everything. That includes on YouTube. Make sure to hit that thumbs up notification or indicator. Have the notifications turned on. And leave your comments below. And of course, you can follow us all with chatwiththesmen.com, where the links to everything social exist. And yeah, so and again, so that's about it. I'm just gonna fish for sponsors one more time. Okay, I'll again no time. So we have every time I'm fishing for sponsors. So yeah, of course. Sometimes we need help with our equipment, and you know what? If you help us out and maybe sponsor us, we'll make sure to have you in our little banner of sponsors down there at the bottom of the YouTube screen. We'll mention you multiple times. I might even make a commercial for you. Okay, not even might. I will make a commercial for you. It'll probably be funny, but if you want serious, we can make it serious. And you can also come on board. You'd be like our favorite sponsor for a year if you could help us out with some of this computer gear we have. So you know what? I'm just going to pass the torch off to Simon. Simon,
is it my turn now?
It's your turn.
Thanks, everybody. I've been looking forward to this one. I think in episode 8, which is not out yet, I actually say at some point, Ryan, I'm coming after you. So I'm happy that to have you on this one. So just as a brief overview for everybody and everybody listening out there. So Ryan and I met via Spandex Panda few years ago now. So Ryan is a ex-pro bike rider, is a team owner of Team Skyline Cadence, which is a UCI registered pro continental team, taking on the majority of the US pro circuit, which is no small undertaking. And then so the Spandex Panda connection there is obviously the clothing that you see Ryan sat there in, as well as the socks. But particular to here, what we're so interested in having a conversation with Ryan about, which is kind of like part 2 of our nutritional chat, is that Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong with these facts, but at the age of 35, as a competing pro bike rider, all of a sudden, kind of you felt a little bit of a dip in your form, and it was getting harder and harder to keep to those levels. And then with the various tests, you found out that you were then diabetic. So again, to bring into that as well, then starting a family, getting married, and your wife with all the restaurants that she has and runs, you keeping a bike business going, keeping a cycling team going. As you kind of say in all humor, it's like, yeah, you haven't slept in 4 years, which is I can see that. But it just made sense for you to come and join us for the recording of episode 9, because I think there's a lot of stuff that you can bring to our conversation, especially about diabetes, your diet, how you maintain those energy levels to still go out and ride, because I know you still go out and ride with the team, which I'm actually for another year, I'm still quite jealous about, because I know you're in California getting out there and riding the bikes, and I want to do the same thing. So yeah, welcome, Ryan.
Hey guys, thanks for. That's it in a nutshell, Simon. You got a pretty good overview of what's going on. It's we can do a deep dive into it. I don't know where you want to start. Do you want to start with nutrition, diabetes, how my body changed on a cellular level, and how I adapted? Where do we go?
Well, I was going to say, let's start with a bit about your journey then. So the bikes, the car, and just carving a living out, because I know what that feels like. So I tried to do it myself before I got myself onto CB Street. So we'll start with that little bit of talk us through, the early years to now, and then all of that.
Bike scene in the mid 90s, early to mid 90s, and by the time I got old enough where 16 years old, I was taking it very seriously. It was an out for me. I grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania. I was a steel worker's son. I had minimal support, and I got acceptance through mountain biking, and it didn't take long for me to climb to the ranks and become one of the winningest junior mountain bikers in the country. And then I did it again for another year. And that carried me right into the senior pro ranks, where I also was performing well, a lot of top 10 finishes at all the big Norba National stuff, and then eventually I switched over to the road bike just financially. Like I said, I was scrapping by in Reading, Pennsylvania. I never graduated high school. I never went to college. I didn't have many opportunities in the town I lived in, for sure. The school system was a drag. My parents were overworked and underpaid.
Amen to that.
So I had to dig deep, and I stuck with it through thick and thin, and I knew if I didn't win that, I was a pretty good chance I'd be at that steel plant too. So I really, really kind of rode with passion, and was grateful for every opportunity I had. And, it took me out of that city and around the world before I was 25. And I thought, wow, that's a great, that's great. But I still didn't even realize that the cards were against me, that everything was still a little bit harder coming from Reading, Pennsylvania, and trying to go out of the world. Even now, at 45 years old, it's, what I own in Reading doesn't hold much value anywhere else in the world. So, it's always been tough, but, pushing really hard on the bike was the one thing that saved me. It kept me focused. It kept me out of trouble as much as it could. And I think that's a big part of what I'm doing now, is trying to keep a bike team alive, for people to provide opportunities for young people, to get out and go travel the world and do something and say they tried as hard as they can. I mean, bike racing is one of the only things I know of that you can say, hey, I tried as hard as I could today.
Yeah, well, you don't have an option, do you? You know what I mean? It's like you can't be at that level and kind of go, oh, I'm just going to hit this event at like 80%, because that doesn't exist. It's so
no, and you have to figure it all out. I mean, my thing was, I started a small bike shop in a little back room of an apartment building with no heat, no bathroom, no nothing, and I just had a work stand in there and some tools. And that's what I did. I fixed bikes to get my entry fee for the weekend. And then I went out and won, got my money back, came back to the shop, worked, and just made it all work. So as much as the shop, at some point, I think, 2003, 4, 5, 6, that's when I had really big opportunities. I was on UCI pro teams. I was racing all over the world, but I had to get back and keep the shop going as well. I was juggling the two, and I never had that 100% focus, and I would work. And then I could take like a month or two away from the shop and just focus on racing. But I never had a 100% opportunity to just race with, everything covered, all support. That was never the case. I was always scrapping by, fighting, for everything I could get. And, I worked on my own bike.
Yeah.
I don't. Cycling.
What? But I think that's because I was similar. My experience is very similar to that. But I also think that when you come out of that gives you something that some of the stuff that Jason and I have spoken about on our other episodes, the relationship side of things, that keeping yourself relevant, that self-evaluation, that relationship with self and all of this kind of stuff, and how you are just with people. I think all of that kind of feeds into that realm of a conversation, because, one of my old coaches, she always used to say, like, if you're going to start a business, then always start a business with a bike rider, because a bike rider knows how to, like, they know what hard work looks like, right? And
exactly.
It's because you used to, there isn't a script to riding a bike. Like, we try in the modern day sport, we try and put a script on it, but I think, I don't think, well, this only too well, Ryan and Jace, I think you get get the gist as well. I would put the similar stuff to being an artist with a guitar or something like that. Again, there's no script for it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I'm going to practice from 2 till 3 every day, and that's going to make me a great guitar player. And it's like, no, it won't. It's like you're sleeping with your bike, you're sleeping with your guitar, you know, and you're singing in the shower and all of that stuff, right? So, so was that the start? So that was basically the start of Skyline then. Hey, so your small business was Skyline, and then you grew that into like a more of a business.
Yeah, my dad, the steel plant shut down. My dad was unemployed, and he helped me with Skyline Bicycles. So that's what we did. We started together, and it's still running, alive and well in Reading, Pennsylvania. But it's coming to a new chapter, I think. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think we might end up selling the building, and maybe relocating to Canada. I'm not sure what we're going to do or how or when, but we're not under pressure. So yeah, I mean that might be an option right now. As we discussed, my wife owns a bunch of restaurants in Canada. I got lucky. I was racing my bike in the Adriatic coast of Italy. I met a beautiful French Canadian girl. I asked her out. She told me no. I said, "This is perfect. Smart ones always tell me no. Go get your job." This is working out. I like it. And
challenge accepted. I like that. That's good.
Quebec. So I think the logical choice is to, make my way out of Pennsylvania and more into the Montreal Metroplex and see what I can do with the bike shop up there. I'm a bike mechanic for life. I love the sport. I love what it does. And, I don't see myself changing much. So I want to keep it going. Some way. I mean, I don't know if I want to work as hard as I have been.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think we all want to slowly wrap down a little bit, at least. Yeah.
I mean, it's the bike industry, man. I mean, there's a bunch of folks that I know actually that we've met together, Ryan. In the UK and stuff like that. And I think the sport at a very fundamental, grassroots, fundamental level needs teams like Skyline, right, and teams like Rob that's involved with his own bike brand and clothing brand and stuff like that, and Curtis with his clothing brand. Like the sport needs that type of grassroots stuff, because that's where the passion comes from, right?
I'm gonna try to tie it in with one of my wife's restaurants. She's got a really winning formula. I just want to try to add to it, but I don't want to overwhelm myself with like in the industry jam stuff down my neck, I don't want that anymore. I want more of a hangout, get your bike serviced, cool brands, cool stuff. You can go from there. I just I think that's where I'm at with it. Well, I want to be able to say no.
Right? Yes, that's going to be another episode. So,
as I am a yes man, but I think I like to be able to say no and then reconsider.
Fair enough. Yeah.
100%
with it right now, because I'm prioritizing my family.
Yep.
Great.
Would you have to?
That's where I'm at. So yeah, my wife owns 6 and now soon to be 7 restaurants. One of her main restaurant, the first restaurant she opened, burned down Christmas Eve.
Oh my
goodness me.
We were driving from Montreal to San Diego, and we were in Indianapolis when she got the call, Christmas Eve. So that was a bit of a
yes,
turbulent time. Like, do we turn around? What do we do? Like, we had planned, rented a place in California for 3 months, and what do we do? So we luckily it's working out, but what a lot of people didn't realize is that a week before that place burnt down, she had signed a lease on another property to open up a taco place, El Gordo Taqueria, in the town we live in Saint Lambert. So on the south shore of Montreal. So it was like,
that's
whoa.
Crazy.
So running the UCI team, they're traveling all over the place. I saw the bike shop going in Pennsylvania. My wife has the restaurants going there, and we have 2 kids under 4. It's
so nice and easy then. Perfect. Excellent.
It's full gas. And I think it's going to be that way for a couple more years. But man, if we play the cards right and we do everything, we're going to end up with a really good life. And it's just we're working really hard right now, staying super focused and trying to get some rest whenever we can.
Yeah, exactly.
But I couldn't have a better partner than my wife to do this all with, and I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful for the friends that took me to Italy that I met her. I mean, the step by step to get out of Reading to find the bike. I mean, what it's coming down to is just appreciation and being grateful for all the great people in my life.
That's a great outlook. It's fantastic.
I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that. So Jace, do you want to bring us up to speed on the nutrient side of stuff, or the nutrition side of stuff, in terms of what we chatted about in episode 8? It's not been aired yet, so we were talking a lot about fasting, because there was a key thing here that's going to be interesting to Ryan, because it was interesting to me, which is, well, how do you do all of this 36-hour, 48-hour fasting? You mentioned at one point that if you do enough fasting over a certain amount of time, you can actually reset your body and basically reprogram it away from diabetes, which is
and that's to a degree. I mean, for sure. I mean, yours is a different diabetes from what has hit my parents, for sure. Type 1, if I'm not wrong, and I forgot exactly what it was. Latent autoimmune diabetes, was it? I think.
Yeah, late onset. Type 1. So the difference between type 1 diabetes is autoimmune. My immune system is attacking the cells coming off of my pancreas that create insulin. So it's autoimmune, and I'm 100% insulin dependent. Type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance. Your body still makes insulin, but it's also becoming resistant to it, and it's not working as good. And insulin's the carrier. It carries the glucose in the cell. And without insulin, or functioning insulin, the sugar's gonna stay on the outside of the cell and create kind of like a razor blade effect on the outside of the cell that's going into the small capillary veins, and it'll cut them, cauterize them, scar tissue will form, and that's what's losing circulation, and that's when we're
exactly.
That's the difference between two of them. And type 2 is, if you live long enough, you're probably going to have this problem.
Right.
So it's not necessarily in everybody's cards, but diet and exercise help tremendously.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because and the key phrase you used there was insulin resistant. So I kind of made it a quick little example of your cells have been bathed with sugar and carbohydrates so much that they're just putting up a fight against the insulin. Your body keeps on pumping out more insulin to try to get that into it. And in the end, really, if you can lower the amount of sugars and carbohydrates you have going in, your cells become less resistant, and your pancreas works a little bit less hard. I'm not saying this is definitely not a victim shaming exercise at all. I mean, it could happen regardless. But you're sure not helping yourself by bad diets and no exercise. So.
I think you need some carbohydrate and sugar just to feed your brain. And that's where I think you need to tie some exercise into it. I don't think you can control it all on diet. I think that breathing heavy is also a medicine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. And good for mental health as well. Like the breathing exercises. There's something to be said for that, right? It took me far too many years of smoking to realize that it wasn't the cigarette that was calming me down. It was the fact I was taking in and then holding my breath and then letting it out slowly. That was the cure. I just had to get rid of the cigarettes. And
right.
So, too late now. But
in terms of nutrition, then, Ryan, how do you balance keeping fit with diabetes, with everything else? And I do want to have a conversation with winning the race with diabetes, because that's also important work that you're doing there as well. But
so it's what I'm coming to terms with now of several years of working with a bunch of young pro athletes. Everybody's going. They feel they need all this. They read this, they read that. They saw this on the internet. They did this, they did that. They're all these different things that they're trying to do to get an edge of sorts. And what I'm doing, it's very simple. I need insulin in my body. I got to produce this myself. So I have to do the injection. So I keep a pen with me at all times. This also will go bad after 86 degrees. It starts to break down. So somehow I got to keep it cool. I got to keep it functioning. Insulin is very volatile. If you shake it, it gets too warm, like some things like that. So in the middle of the summer, I'm riding around with that in my back. I go to do a dose and it doesn't really do anything.
Right.
It's ruined. Other problem is in America, it's one of the most expensive fluids in the world.
Oh my goodness, right. We've all heard about it, that's for sure. Yeah.
$400 a vial here in the States, $35 a vial in Canada when I go to the Pharmaprix. So, it's an option. And then I have an insulin pump I have here. So I got to talk to these devices whenever I need nutrition.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what makes it tricky when you're on a bike. It's not like, the Super Bowl was yesterday. There was an athlete on the Kansas City team that has type 1 diabetes, and they make like this big, ooh, wow, look at this. It's like, well, he gets to sit on a bench every 2 minutes and he can have a juice or a drink or whatever. When I'm 2.5 hours into a bike race, there's no time out. There's none of that, So there's been, 90-minute crits where I'm coming down the backstretch doing a shot.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder. And how does it tend to be regulated by what you're feeling yourself? Like balancing the line between hyper and hypoglycemic? Or
balance and going too hot, where you're become lethargic. You're pumping like pudding through your veins. Cramped. But you won't pass out because you're too low. I've done both. I do both sometimes in the same race. I've done both and then still won. It's it's amazing how it works, but you really got to be tough. It's definitely will give you 1,000 excuses to quit, to back down, to not do it. You got to really want it, and to stay within the lines is very hard, and that's what I'm working on with Winning Race with Diabetes, showing people how to live an optimal lifestyle with this disease, and inspiring people with type 1 that they can do whatever they want to do, and to help people and be inspired to prevent type 2 diabetes by living in high definition, not watching it. Go out and breathe. So that's where I'm at with it. But I got to use insulin to carry glucose into the cell. But on the other hand, then you got to consume a fair amount of carbohydrate during a race without going high. Insulin,
right in the line.
It takes about 90 minutes for it to peak, and then during the 90 minutes you got to be consuming, and especially if you're on the gas, you're running it's going to drop your blood sugar so fast. I mean, within 20 minutes, I can put myself from 100 points above where I should be to completely unconscious.
Oh my goodness!
Wow!
So there's a lot of planning ahead of time then before you hit a competition.
Yes. Well, you're thinking about that while you're covering your, trying to make the corners, looking for the break, getting up the road. Where's your teammate? What's all these things that are happening? I'm also managing my blood glucose through, I have some technology that helps. I have a continuous glucose monitor. Right. So I got to take my phone with me, and then
you're tapping around the entire time.
I don't know. I have a Dexcom, so it goes from my phone to my watch. Then I gotta look at the watch, and hopefully it's working. And everything's working. Sometimes people think, oh yeah, your pump, that's automated. Oh, then you can read. Oh, it's all automated. Oh, it just works. It's like, no. 90% of the time, none of it works. Yeah. Diabetes. When you're high, you don't know, and you're on a bike, you're suffering. No matter what, everything's hurting already. You're hoping you're within range and trying to, bring the glucose into the cell. That's when I get it right. And I do have the right amount of insulin at the right time and the right amount of carbohydrate. And when I do all that, I call it my glucose burning supercharger.
I love it.
And that's the part where I take risks, because I know I still might be able to win. And you know, when you're in the bunch, you're out there 100, 120 dudes. You're going to come out of that last corner and win. And I've done this successfully now quite a few times since I was diagnosed. And I think that's a big part of having the years and experience. You know, it's not like I didn't get this disease when I was just learning the sport. I got the disease at the twilight years of my career. So I knew how to race the bike, but then it was like a whole new game of getting that perfectly balanced blood sugar and getting back on the top of the podium. Not second, not the winning. And that's what we're winning the race with diabetes. It's not getting second, good. It's not being, you know, content with mediocrity. It's being the very best. And at any bicycle race, being the very best is very hard. I don't care what category, what age group, whatever it is. And, you know, I think it's still possible with this disease and carrying the right nutrition in. It can all be done. You just might have to do a shot while you're riding your bike.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm getting like a weird. I just, for some reason, I'm drawing the parallel to like the Fast and Furious movies, where you just need to beat the other person, so you drop some nitrous oxide into you or insulin, and boom, power passing around.
Kind of like that.
Similar. If I'm like a high blood sugar and I need to eat, I didn't, you know, and it's like, oh, I got to eat. It's like, boom, I got to do a shot. But the amount of insulin I do is so minimal. It's really hard. Like, I really only need 1 unit of insulin, but a pen like this won't really deliver 1 unit of insulin. You almost need like an infant syringe to microdose the amount of insulin that I need. So I'll do 2 units, and if there's an air bubble in there or a little bit off, it might not get any in at all, and it won't work. That's how precise you need to be. And the difference between 2 units to 3 units, 2 units might keep you in range. 3 units might put you to sleep in 20 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And you won't know.
Yeah.
And a Bluetooth read will only come from my phone to my Dexcom continuous glucose monitor every 10 or so minutes. Maybe 5 minutes now. It's getting a little better. I have the Dexcom G7. I'm hoping that this is the fastest, most accurate. But even that, I'm struggling with getting a good read in the time frame that I do. You know, so, and by the time it actually transmits to my watch, and I'm out there, I'm coming out of turn 3, you know, like trying to figure out why am I dizzy.
And it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Simon.
No, I was sorry, Jason. So I'm interested in the pre. So how you away from the bike. So I'm talking post race, before race, the stuff that you're eating. Like, have you ever been in a situation like I personally I struggle to do the length of fast that Jason and my wife do. So like these 36-hour fasts and stuff like that. Like, as somebody that's still trying to be active, like I struggle. I can't do them. I'll you know, I can get probably in an 18-hour fasting, but I'm kind of thinking that what you're trying to do, similar to me, those fasts don't necessarily work. So we can't put ourselves into a ketone state to somehow try and get the body to reset where the diabetes is concerned, right? So
I mean, it's tricky. I do like I could walk you through it. You know, in the morning I have a very standard breakfast, and it always insulin's on board. So it happened. You gotta prepare the night before, honestly, and with your dinner and insulin, and when you start your fast. So once I stabilize after dinner at night, you know, I'll eat dinner and then I'll go high or low afterwards. And that means either if I'm starting to go low, I'll have to eat something again and try to get it into range. And then through the night, I have to get up every night of my life and either eat something or do insulin. It never stays.
Oh, okay.
It's like having an infant the rest of your life.
Right.
So, and to stay within range. And that's where I'm at right now. I have goals. I want to bring my A1C below 6. I want to bring my FTP above 350. And I want to keep my weight at 170. Those are the numbers. That's what I'm shooting for, and I'm about there.
Okay.
It's definitely tricky. So, you know, then if I can stabilize through the night, I wake up in the morning, I'll do my insulin. Depending, like some mornings I'm on my bike at 7:30 in the morning. I get up at 6. I got 90 minutes to really get up, get dressed, eat, regulate and be on my bike. And this is the
Yes.
tricky. If I have a couple hours in the morning, it's not a problem. I can do my thing. But if I got to be up and going on my bike, it's trial or error. I'm going to jump on my bike. My blood sugar is going to go up or down. I got to have a tremendous amount of carbohydrates to be able to take in quick sugar and pull it back up if it starts to tank, because it can 20 minutes on the bike, I could drop to a point and then miss the ride, miss the training, build plenty of excuses not to do it. Right. I want to do it and I want to go win that group ride, or whatever I'm doing, getting me up. Whoever I'm meeting that morning that I got to get up at 6 a.m. and be on my bike at 7:30, they're all going to hurt. Everybody's going to hurt that day. So that's one thing, so I'll eat like a big bowl of steel cut oats. I'll have a bunch of fruit in there, a little maple syrup just to sweeten it up. Hemp seed, flax seed, chia seed, pumpkin seed, peanut butter. That's my protein. And, I have my berries on there, a little bit of nut milk, and then some Maldon salt, and mix up a big old bowl of that. That's usually my go-to breakfast. And then
that makes sense. I mean, because all the different types of oats and fiber that you have in there, you're going to go both the maple syrup have an immediate hit with the carbohydrates, but also a slow, gradual release with all the more complex carbohydrates in that meal as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly. That meal requires less insulin than 2 pieces of toast.
Yeah.
Put it in.
Yeah. Slow release.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that speaks, Simon, what we were talking about with where I said the difference between juicing an apple or eating the apple whole. When you have your apple with the fiber, it's a slower release and yeah. So
okay. So the fasting side of what we talked about then, Jace. So the fasting, I guess what you're saying there, Ryan, is fasting as a person with diabetes, like the fasting diet, it's not even part of it then. It's not even a consideration, hey?
For me, not so much, but like when I do have to fast for blood work, it's a struggle. So if I do not eat anything, from 9 o'clock at night, because I'm 12 hours later, I'm going to be at the clinic getting blood work at 9 a.m.
Yep.
I have to fast that whole time is very tricky, especially drive to the clinic. Sometimes I'm borderline hypoglycemic, barely, trying to get my blood work done.
it's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's pretty tricky. I did a clinical trial when I first got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes where I had to be fasting, and it was like once a week. I had to drive 40 minutes down to the Atlanta Diabetes Association. And there was a couple times, man, I was like, I probably shouldn't be driving. I get there, I'm in a full-on sweat, like full hypoglycemic sweat. And just to pull off this trial I did for Pfizer, which the drug is on the market now. It's interesting. That's a whole other podcast in its own right. But yeah. So anyway, I did some crazy stuff because I didn't, at that time I was a single dude just running around the world with nothing to lose. And I thought, okay, I'll try this crazy drug. Well, then a couple of years, like a year later, I met a woman, and then 2 years later, 3 years, the next thing you know, I'm having kids, all this stuff. And when they gave me this drug, they said, are you planning on having kids? I said, nah, not at this point. Anyway, that's how that went. But fasting is definitely really hard to do with type 1. You might always need, like, I keep a pineapple juice next to my bed at all times. I got to pop that, drink it. I try to find stuff that's not loud so it doesn't wake up my wife. But yeah, pretty much every night I'm up at least once or twice managing, so it kind of blows off the whole fast. But I know that when I'm trying to stay lean, so a lot of times you have to eat up to insulin. You have to eat, consume carbohydrate, right? So I'll fast if I can get stable, and I'll skip lunch a lot if it's not a day of training. Or if I am training, I'll eat on the bike so I can keep burning it instead of doing insulin. It's almost easier for me to stay stabilized. But I did notice that I am developing a little bit of a disorder with when I am stable. Like, for example, when I drive across the country, if I take doing long drives, I stay very low carbohydrate meals. I have to plan all my meals. I pack salads, nuts, all this stuff with super low glycemic. But once I stabilize, I won't eat. My body's not telling me when I'm hungry anymore. I'm always looking at a blood meter and determining when I can eat, or knowing what workload I'm going to have on for training, or just, whether I'm doing yard work, washing the van, whatever it is. Then I'll say, oh, now I need to eat something. But I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I can block that pain out. I don't want to have to do or deal with managing diabetes if I'm stable and in zone. It's not like you get a snack at night, like because you're hungry. It's like, no, I don't want to throw my whole system out and then be up all night going up and down with my blood sugar.
Right. I call it the roller coaster, the sugar roller coaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and that's exactly what you were saying, wasn't it, Jace? With the fasting, and even Joe said it now. Now she's done a few fasting. She doesn't, to Ryan's point, and to what you've said in our previous episode, she doesn't. You get to a point where you actually don't feel hungry, which I'm kind of like.
No. It's a spike in sugar as well, and of course this is with the luxury of not having type 1 diabetes to preface that first. But yeah, it's when you don't have type 1 diabetes, you're just riding a sugar roller coaster, and what you think is hunger is actually just your body telling you that wants more of the sugar, because we're all addicted to sugar. So somehow, to some degree. So.
Yeah.
And I think, that's where I say, like, on a parallel, even with type 1 diabetes, or if you're not diabetic and you do consume food, you should move. Go for a walk.
Yes.
Breathe. Just take your breath, do your stretching, do your yoga, whatever it is, but just don't eat and become sedentary.
Yeah.
I think that's
exactly
something that we can all relate to, and we can all do better health and wellness, would be to move.
Yeah. And the first time I noticed in my life personally, before I heard anything about fasting and dieting and anything with type 2 and how you could try to get rid of it, I worked in an office building in the mid 2000s, and the floor admin assistant would always have candies on her desk, just to, for social reasons. I found that if I went to visit her once for candies, I would find excuses to visit her for the rest of the day to have the candies. But if I didn't go once, then I didn't need any at all. And that was the first indicator of blood sugars roller coastering. Was that. So
it's because, every time you go up, you're going to come down. James Brown,
exactly
wrote
right.
all there. And it's definitely how it works, even with type 1 diabetes. What I'm noticing also is what is a sustainable sugar, and what I can eat to not spike when I'm riding, but I have two different things, and I'm working with Hammer Nutrition as a supplement company, and I have two different kinds of mix for my bottles, and one's a slower burn, longer endurance fuel, and the other one's a quicker, faster one. So it's like, for training, I'm using the slower, and I'm only on this 3 weeks now. It's really interesting because I used Hammer Nutrition in the mid 2000s as well. Now I'm back on their product as well, and using their slower burning fuel to train, and I don't get a crazy spike. I'm still getting enough calories in where I'm recovering, and then during races, when you kind of need it a little quicker, especially if I'm starting to dip down, I've been doing more insulin prior to an event. I do it just a little shot at the start line, and it avoids the spike from nervousness, which I don't get when I'm training. I think before the start, you're a little
yes,
right,
cortisol, affects all that stuff, and I'm getting a spike, even though I have no carbohydrate and no sugar, and all of a sudden I'm getting a crazy spike. I'm up to 300 at the start line. It's like,
and it's interesting how that can happen as well. Just almost the anticipation of something can affect your blood sugars. That was neat that you shared that. Thanks, Ryan. Well, one thing I know for sure, well, I don't know for sure because I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor, but what I've heard anecdotal is that it doesn't matter what you're eating, whether it's something with no sugars or tons of sugar, just the anticipation of getting ready to eat, your blood sugar starts to go up a little bit, just to try to meet that food as it comes into your system.
It's it's an interesting process. And also in the morning, you know, your blood sugar is going to come up.
Yeah, that's right.
A few things, the ebb and flow of blood sugar, but, you know, I'm constantly, you know, regulating it with a synthetic insulin, which it's an art, man. And this is the game. And the other thing I notice that throws my blood sugar off is when I'm angry or upset.
Interesting.
If I'm pissed, man, blood sugar is high. It might be the reason why I'm pissed too. Sometimes my blood sugar is high and it shouldn't be, and I'm like trying to figure out why, and I got to do more insulin. But
Vicious circle. Yeah.
Nervous because I'm going to crash, and I got to go here, I got to go there, I got to pick up this, I got to do this, you know, like, and you're in that grind, and you realize you got 2 little kids in the back in car seats, and you can't be wrong. You got to be flawless.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, Jace, we definitely touched on this in terms of, in our world, we're eating out a lot, right? So we're eating out with clients and all of that kind of stuff. So one of the fears is we don't, unless I'm in one of your restaurants, obviously, Brian, like you don't know what's going on in the kitchen, right? You don't know how the food's being prepped. You don't necessarily know how it's being cooked. So when it may look appetizing when it hits the table, but you don't know how it's affecting you. So the conversation that we were having, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, is like the rising difficulty of eating clean, as I like eating clean. So that, what I mean by that is, you're eating at home, you're preparing the food yourself, you're not over seasoning it, you're cooking it. You're not taking nutritional values out of it because you're basically torching the stuff, and all of that kind of stuff. Because surely that has, over the last little while for you, when you were diabetic, when you were discovered to be diabetic, that's changed a lot as well. So what are your thoughts on that? Because it just seems really difficult to eat clean.
To do a road trip across America and eat roadside America. You can't just pull out your car and pull over and grab something and eat and get back in your car and think your blood sugar is going to be anywhere controllable. For sure. So yeah, like I said, like prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. I pack all my meals. I prepare my meals when I can. My van has a kitchen and a fridge in it because that's what I needed to race and be competitive. I needed to check everything off the list. So I don't eat out too often. And if I do, it's usually, like a real high quality kind of food, but there's no, I'm not just swinging off and grabbing stuff. It's compared to a piece of bread from the actual bakery. You'll notice a lot of different differences in basically the same thing. Yes. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, eating clean is definitely part of it. Especially right now at 45 years old, when I'm trying to stay lean, trying to stay fit, trying to do everything. It's so hard. I mean, it is, and you still need nutrition. And yeah, I'm really pushing hard right now, I gotta say.
It's funny though, is that it's how age hits you. I know that if I had put, I'm a human yo-yo with my weight, but if I had put as much effort into being in shape in my 20s that I do right now, approaching 50, my goodness, I would have been a fantastic specimen. Fantastic specimen.
And I think that's another of what I'm doing with Winning the Race with Diabetes. I mean, I'm just living example of what can be done. And I really, that's my next goal. Is right now I'm trying to figure out how I can do that for my job. I'd like to, be speaking on behalf of, continuous glucose monitors, insulin pumps, how I use them, how I pull this all together, and how I'm winning races. This year I'm going after 45 plus national championships, road bike, mountain bike, cyclocross bike, whatever, any kind of bicycling, 45 plus, do some more age category stuff. And I think that'll really highlight, hey, wait a second, that guy's type 1 diabetic. And another thing that I'm also noticing I like to do is help people. And earlier you said, hey, we're not doctor, I can't do these things. It's I'm not a doctor either. So I can't go out there and say, hey, look, you need to do this. You need to control your diabetes this way. You should do this. You should do that. Yeah. It's whoa. this is what I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It works for me.
Well, there's an interesting. This all comes together in a very nice, well, in a very interesting conversation that a personal conversation I had with my doctor at the end of last season, and my wife was with me at the time, so thankfully. But basically, it would picture that. So you're sitting there, you're waiting for your appointment, and my doctor walks into the room, and she's already got the paperwork in her hands, right? So she walks in like this. So I'm like, okay, and I already kind of knew, because I'd traced back chronologically when I'd gone to do my blood work, and I'd just finished the week of the Trans Rockies Single 6, which you'll know this, Ryan. So I'm up, I'm riding my bike, I'm eating race foods, I'm like pounding gels every 60 minutes, 90 minutes. So. And I know that stuff is like these energy drinks now and foods like take you from such a point of as you alluded to earlier on, like, oh man, I don't know which way is up, to like 10 minutes later, all of a sudden it's like somebody's just turned you up to 11, and it's like, okay, I know where I'm going now. So, and she came in with the conversation of, okay, well, your cholesterol's up, Simon, and I'm like, okay. And she said, and this is what we need to do. We need to now talk about another medication that's can do that. And I said, well, I said, no, I'm not going to take the tablets. I said, because this is the reason why. Like, I've got 2 or 3 months worth of eating a certain way, racing a certain way, and keeping myself moving as trying to be competitive in my own way. I said, so I'm not going to do that. Which she then ultimately she gave me until, I think I've got till the end of this month to do a retest, and I already know, because I already feel better. I know that I've been eating clean. I've got a kind of a good training regime. But the key thing is that unless we challenge the people that we're chatting to in terms of, no, I know me. I know me, I know my body, I know what I put into it, in the same way that you were saying, Ryan, in the same way with you, Jason, with you, then you kind of, society gets put into this, it's like, oh, well, you need to take this tablet, and it might be completely wrong. It might be completely and utterly the wrong thing to take.
So yeah, this leads us to the, like in America, I say to people, they're the healthcare system didn't fail us. American people failed the healthcare system. But when you go to the doctor in America, you go for blood work, the same thing happened to me. My cholesterol is through the roof. And they right away, like, oh, you need to take, this is the deal. Once it goes through their computer, the computer comes out, here's the resolution to it, give them X amount of this, right? Like, that's what the doctor does. He types in, that's how it works anymore. And that's modern medicine. But for you to say, no, that was smart, because endurance athletes have high cholesterol. This is a proven. And your high cholesterol, your HDL and LDL, right? Like, if they're both high, it's kind of canceling it out. So you're taking that average, and that's a little bit more in depth. But that blood work and that doctor doesn't realize that you just rode your bike for 6 days straight, and everything is elevated.
Right. Right. Exactly. You've got a body that's kind of like, whoa, what have you just done?
You're probably throwing off their computer. They're saying, hey, this guy's going to have a stroke. And you're like, no way, man. I was just crank. If I was going to have a stroke, I would have had it last week. But you said no. That's good. A yes man that says no. Reconsider if you want it. This is the move. Yeah, it's and then your wife's there, and she audited that blood work already. It's like, oh.
Yeah, well, yeah, she did. Well, and she was also there as the voice of reason, right? She just looked at the doctor and she said, whatever you say to Simon today, the answer's no. So just like understand that, and we can have a better appointment.
So yeah, that's it. I mean, where does that put us at now here? So we went over diabetes. We went over all stuff, then the life challenges, right? Where are we going next, guys?
I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to dive in, since you're on your fingers on the pulse with the diabetes world and advances, etc. Can you explain some of the future things that are anticipated? My understanding is that the Holy Grail is trying to figure out a way of having a non-intrusive blood sugar monitor somehow, possibly through a watch. I know that was kind of the gauntlet for a while. I'm not sure if they're still chasing that.
Let's attainable goals first. Attainable goals first. Like there's a lot of things, this and that. Okay, so
Okay.
up now, right now, what we're working on is the Dexcom G7 continuous glucose monitor, right? That's this thing right here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
That's not the same as what the UCI's just banned, is it?
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
Yeah, they can't have those anymore. So this needs to talk to this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the Dexcom G7 will tell the Omnipod 5. The technology's not out. It's FDA approved. The Omnipod 5 I'll be able to control from my phone, from an app. Okay. The Dexcom will talk to my phone and say, hey, your blood sugar is high. The Omnipod will say, uh-oh, we're going to put a little insulin in and drop your blood sugar. You're out of range. Okay. This is cool because then you don't have to think about it. And for me, I think about it. I'm meticulous about it. But to me, the coolest thing is if you have a 7-year-old that's in 2nd grade, now all of a sudden, you don't have to do that. This kid can go live a normal life. And that's my push on tech is I'd like, and it's coming. The Dexcom G7 is going to talk to the Omnipod 5. You're not going to have a tube or a wire. Everything's wireless and remote. The Dexcom G7 will tell your parents' phone where your blood sugar is and alert your parents if something's wrong. So it's the tech that's there, right? So in this year, this will come, and that's going to close the loop.
Oh, that's exciting. Nice.
Exactly. And that's really my push right now. And that's where I think I want to leverage myself and what I'm doing with the team, winning the race with diabetes. Like, I'm competing with these guys. They're 20 years younger than me, and I'm still smoking them.
Excellent.
Okay. And I'm a disabled dude with 2 kids and a ton of other things going on. You know what I mean? These kids just getting out of college. He's got a free pass to go ride bike for a year. Well, you better beat me. That tech is coming, and that's really what I want to showcase. That the later years of my racing, I want to show what can be done with it. And like I said, I want to chase national championships with that tech, and I want it to work, and I want to see exactly how it works. I want that loop to come closed between the Omnipod 5 and the Dexcom G7. And it's close, and there's a few other units out there that say they're doing it. I want to try them all. I want to be the guinea pig for this stuff, see which one works best, and then we can go from there. But I think those advancements are what's going to, and I think that's been my goal from day one. My heart has gone out to the parents that take care of children with type 1 diabetes once I found out how volatile it is. Yep. And people say to me, what if your kids get it?
Yep.
I am currently the Pennsylvania state facilitator for type 1 diabetes. And I'm trying to educate congressmen and lawmakers on what exactly the struggles are, the costs and the benefits of this stuff, and trying to get it to affordable insulin and access to these medical devices to take the jail sentence away from type 1 diabetes, right, and let the kids live free and live the life that they should be entitled to.
Yes. Well, and take the I think we talked about this before, Ryan, but it kind of take the choice away from the parents. Do you know what I mean? And what I mean by the choice is, okay, I've got a bunch of bills to pay here, and then the parent is sat there deciding whether to pay a utility bill or get medicine for their sick child, right? That's what we're talking about here.
Exactly what's happening here, and that's what I would like to, in my lifetime, alleviate. And that's the big picture of Team Skyline and winning the race with diabetes. And I'm grateful to have my friends at Cadence Cyclery and Specialized and all the big bike brands in the industry come on full tilt this year. It took 10 years. I started Team Skyline in 2013, and I got a bunch of partners and friends and great people like yourselves that have helped me get out there. And that's what it's all about. And the end result is closing that loop and getting these products to children that need it.
Yes. Well, and I know I don't
well
think this is an announcement ahead of time, but I know we've got WT winning the race with diabetes on our spandex race jersey. So I know we're representing when we're out there in Canada this year as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
Canada, I have a different goal, and that same thing is to inspire, and that's where I really need to bring the foundation up there and get more boots on the ground in Canada, because they have socialized healthcare that helps with some of these things, but people still need inspiration and a how-to. So I'm going to really try to branch out and become more global.
Yep.
And grow this thing to the point where we can really make a difference in everybody's life.
I think so.
That's great. That's great, Ryan.
I'd like to be part of that. I'd love to be part of that. So, well, I'm trying to, because again, that's why we have the, we've got the podcast going, and we're having these chats with you as well, right? So that we can bring this, make it more of a conversation. But especially, I mean, so today we've gone through, the restaurant, the eating out versus the eating at home, all of that kind of stuff. Because I do think, and you've had this conversation with your wife, I'm sure I have, like the spot of running those restaurants is to make sure that it's also you're giving healthy options, right? Whereas I think
everything is made in-house. She ferments her mustard in the basement. Everything in all the restaurants is made in-house, all Quebec sourced ingredients.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So that's Pizzeria Geppetto, El Gordo, and Sunny's Dinette. We have four pizza places, and we're soon to have 2 taco places, and then Sunny's Dinette is like diner food, but well done. You come in for a grilled cheese and tomato soup on a cold day, you're not going to regret it.
Oh,
that's going to be flipping phenomenal.
Well, I guess we're going to Montreal sometime soon.
So put a list. All right, check it out. 2026 World Championships are in Montreal. Cycling. So
are they really?
Right? You guys come out. We're going to eat good. We're going to go for cool bike rides. We're going to do fun stuff.
I'm in.
It's my goal with the team to have athletes in the race.
Excellent.
That's what we're working on. We have 5 U23 athletes. We have a good mix. It's a Can-Am team, basically. We have a few European riders, but we're really pushing hard on the North American athletes to bring them to the World Championships in 2026 in Montreal.
We got some good athletes around there at the minute. Like, my word, it's like some of the athletes that were in the events that I was part of last year, and then I'm going to be part of with this year. I was like, my word, these are like, they're just next level, aren't they? Some of these young kids.
It's impressive. It's impressive. But we could go into it another time about the difference between Canadian riders and American riders, and the hurdles that they have to get to that level.
Yes.
But I'm trying to alleviate all that stuff and give them an opportunity just like I had, and pay it forward.
100%. Thank you. Well, I think we've kind of come to a natural conclusion.
2 kids out here with Grandpa Jules. I gotta go out and get back on duty.
I was going to say you need to get back on duty. I was going to say I think we've come to a natural conclusion here. So Ryan, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Jace, do you want to close us out?
Sounds good. Yes. So again, everyone, thanks for listening to episode 9 with our special guest Ryan. And again, I'd like to shout out for our sponsors: Tanakra, Bellcat, Pink Weasel Coffee, Spandex Panda, TEEMA Solutions. I guess I'm just taking that off you, Simon. Sorry. And
I'm cool with that.
and don't forget, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean. You can also follow us by going to chatwithyesmen.com, which will spit you out to all the socials, as including YouTube, where I want you to hit that thumb. I want you to do the notifications. I want you to leave comments, all that fun stuff. And yes, thank you so much, Ryan. It was a wonderful conversation today.
I look forward.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe.
Yeah. Yes. Take care.
Cheers, buddy. See you later.